Welcome to this late night live before tomorrow's full moon. But if you look out there now, and I mean, it's clear where I'm at, um, it almost looks a little orange. So I don't know if that's from the wildfires or, if it's actually supposed to be that kind of, hey, chill out. That kind of orangey glow. He had to drag his bowl in here again. He's been doing that lately. Anyway. Maybe it's just a full moon thing, right? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Why is he doing that? Anyway. Mysteries of the Animal Kingdom continued. Yeah. I'm sure there's a video or article about that, but my personal is that he just doesn't want to eat alone. It's like I'll have my snack, but I like to have it around company. I don't want to eat in the kitchen where there's nobody at right now. Which is like my normal other zone, right? Like the kitchen area. So anyway, I feel like my living room doesn't really get a lot of attention during the summertime. And in the winter that might change, but for now it's like, not so much. Anyway. Let's see here. Ooh, High Priestess. What do we know? Huh? Are you feeling better now? Huh? Okay. 5 of Pentacles. My senior dog, she's just like looking at me all chill. She's all snugged in her little resting spot for the evening. I think we did have some of that smoke from the wildfires though, because I have had a headache today, and I normally don't really get headaches. So anyway, 6 of Wands. I'll say when I used to have more sinus trouble I did, but not so much now. It's more rare for me to get sinus issues, so that smoke could be inflaming it. Hey, listen, just relax. Snacking away. I think that's going to be a sign that after this reading, I'm going to have to refill that bowl, or else he's going to be ornery for the evening. 3 of Pentacles, even though half of it's spilled up there in the kitchen. 3 of Pentacles. You could be getting lucky, collective, with a choice of business partner or contracts that are coming up. All right, and these are going to be ones that allow you to express yourself like creatively and stuff, whereas before you may have not felt so free from a creative aspect. You weren't allowed to be vulnerable, let's just say, even though you possess the knowledge of like your vision and stuff. Okay, it was just a matter of pulling it, like this is more like the 5D, this is the 3D, right? When the reality hits, right? Okay, but when the reality hit, you're seeing that the way that you can celebrate, okay, and the way that you can tap in is going to be rediscovered in a way, okay, with say new opportunities, new business partners, new peers, maybe new co-workers, right? Okay, because a lot of times when you get hired on a job, you're part of a larger team, right? So chances are there's a coworker or a peer at work where you can discuss some work things, things of that nature, right? Knight of Wands. Okay, there could be some flirtation as well going on. Very interesting. What's weird is I thought I was looking at the Knight of Wands over here, and then I ended up pulling it. But this is the Six of Wands, right? So this your solar plexus area, like allowing yourself to kind of to utilize your body, right? Where maybe again, if you were in that position where being vulnerable meant putting yourself at risk, right? You're probably not all about like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, you're really like, what's up? What do you want? Like, who's calling? It's just more like that, right? Like a more closed off type energy. And I'm not saying that's bad. It just exists, right? It's something that we sometimes go through, okay? We try not to be stuck there, but if we're there, we're like, hey, well, count the blessings you got, right? Okay. So again, and maybe especially if this isn't a workplace type situation, it might not be ideal, this flirtation, right? But I'm not getting any kind of weird energy around it. So, maybe kind of just let it be lighthearted for the moment, type thing until like, if there is like a serious line that gets crossed, whereas, it might be different though if you have to be right next to this person, 8 hours a day and they're like doing this all day long, right? You know what I mean? Like it's, obviously there's a range here, right? But the casual kind of flirtation or whatever, I think you're like, you know, kind of going with the flow of that. Okay. Four of Pentacles here. So collective, in this position, I feel like you could be saving for something special. Maybe you're saving for vacation, a new car, maybe a down payment on some, new furniture, new apartment, house, whatever, right? Baby needs a new pair of shoes. And Virgo, Hermit energy. So you might really be getting collective more into the details. Whereas, say maybe earlier in the summer, you were like more like free with your time and things like that. Now you might be kind of closing that off and being like, well, all right, if I'm going to make, say your summer job, right? Take for example, until maybe you're going back to school in the fall. Okay. Well, how are you going to make that last through if you don't have the same job in the fall or if you have to change jobs, right? So there's just some things that I think you're not that I'd say you're realizing, but you're addressing, okay, so that you can continue to bring, this vision into this reality zone, okay, and see that you're going to be able to work with the right people who recognize what's going on with you. Okay, because obviously not everybody does, or else they wouldn't have been like over here kicking you when you were in that vulnerable position and saying, "Oh no, actually we blah blah blah." You know what I mean? Like, boohoo you. I mean, and all that kind of stuff, right? Which is very, sophomore-ish and childish, grade school and all that kind of stuff. But let's face it, that still occurs, and that's part of the reason why there's a lot of kids that struggle with bullying is because their parents are bullies, right? Or they learned it from somebody that they're around, right? Okay. But collective, you're not taking that approach, okay? All right, you're not that what would they say, Machiavellian about it. Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, if you're rebuking evil spirits, say that prayer for to Saint Michael the Archangel. That's a good one for that. Ace of Cups. Okay. So yeah, again, where you felt unloved, somebody deemed you as unworthy or blah blah blah, you had to, kind of dig deep and find your inner strength, right, to carry on. And, you're taking that sip of love towards yourself, right? Okay. In some religions, a cup like this is significant, right? Okay, from the Last Supper, right? Okay, when they say, do this in memory of me. Sun card, Leo, listen to you. And I also got that, what's the REO? Time for me to fly. So, yeah, I think you're kind of letting the universe kind of lift you up into where you need to be here with the Six of Wands. Knight of Swords, another knight here. Okay. So, some of these, say, offers might come in quickly, collective, but, obviously do your diligence, right? If there is paperwork involved, you need to, perhaps go over it with a fine tooth comb like Virgo would, okay? Um, but just know here with this Knight of Swords, some people are expecting a response, like they're expecting an answer. Even if they're not directly asking you for an answer, they're expecting one. Okay, I'll just put it that way. And that's not to say that you're acting obtuse or anything of that nature. It's just part of the confirmation of the reading. Okay, so you understand what's going on. All right, next card. Cancer season, the crab, we're about done, right? We're about wrapping up, the same as with the Mercury retrograde. And so with this Chariot card here, turning the corner and heading home, and down the stretch they come, right? And it's like, oh, so it's almost like when it arrives in that ball of fire, right? And then it's like, oh, Leo's here. You know what I mean? And Leo's like, thank you for the entrance. Um, you know, but think of how fast the wheels on a chariot might be going. Okay, and if you got to slow down, if you got to come to a stop. I mean, I was doing errands today, and I expected traffic was going to be moving. It decided not to, so I had to brake a little bit harder than I thought. And that throws things out of, the equilibrium that we think exists in that moment, right? Ooh, Emperor card. Again, Aries has been popping up in these readings lately. Okay. So, with this Four of Pentacles, it's kind of like, maybe you invest in something for your business, and then that's what builds your business, and then you become the emperor. You know what I mean? And it's just like as simple as that. But the way it looks now, you're holding on to this coin here and you're not spending that, and people are like, "Oh, they're acting miserly. They're not stable. They don't have enough to go around town and blow all their money wad on everybody, right?" Um well, maybe it's because instead of investing in them, you're investing in yourself, and look what the results are going to get you. You know what I mean? So try not to cry over the spilled milk of what you've invested in other people and it's not turned out, and it only gave you this Five of Pentacles, right? But that's when you stopped and realized you're like, wait a second. I don't that's yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool. Like we don't need to get the community participation award, okay, in order to survive and do our due diligence here. Okay? Cuz collective the thing is even when you know haven't we had times like that in the past when it's like, oh, okay. It's like, but when so and so does it, they get like the parade and everything, right? But when we do it, it's like, oh, big deal, right? Like, okay, but yet they want to underestimate you at the same time. And it's like, what? It's like, what world, or what multiverse or did we just enter here in terms of thinking, in terms of paradigms? You ever hear that phrase? Shift your paradigm. Correspondence school. Ever hear of it? Nine of Pentacles. Okay. So again, since this is like an outdoor scene here for somebody, maybe you're literally like, this looks like wine here, like she's growing grapes. Like maybe you're investing in a winery. And they grow wine all over the world. Maybe you're investing in a winery. It works for them Hollywood guys, right? Six of Cups. So returning to what you love, what kind of inspires you, what gives you emotional fulfillment. Okay. Not just the, accolades, right? Type fulfillment. Okay. Because again, it's like, well, I did that before and nobody really seemed to care. So, not saying it wasn't enjoyable, but you're like, am I really going to take the same approach this time? Or again, are you going to take that Four of Pentacles and turn it more inward and say, well, what can we make of that? Right? I just heard studio for somebody. Like, there's a lot of people, especially on YouTube, that have, home studios and they show off, their home studios and stuff and how they put it together. So maybe that's something that you're going to be investing in. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. Alrighty. Hopefully everyone in the chat is doing well. As a reminder, please be kind to others in the chat. If you are in the chat, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and I think this is the mind info. Yeah, I think we're gonna use this one. I haven't used this one in a while, so sounds like a deal to moi. So, as a recap, I guess we have Virgo, Aries, Cancer, Leo, High Priestess, okay, Nine of Pentacles and Sun card, all right, Knight of Wands, Knight of Swords, Ace of Cups as well, okay. Make it make sense, somebody said, I heard. Okay, we'll see what happens. Protect here. It says you're being asked to protect yourself and your energy. It's okay to want to give to others, which you do effortlessly. It's important, though, that you. Sorry, it's getting a little dark here. Important, though, that you set healthy boundaries with your energy before doing so. Now is the time to get some protection in place. Okay, so maybe that is something you need to look into, collective. Very popular way people do that is, burning sage, burning incense, burning candles, things of that nature, right? Just, do so safely, right? Especially if you live in one of those places that is prone to that sort of thing. Open up. You're being asked to open your heart to another, to let down your walls and trust that they want what's best for you. Your life will open up in wonderful ways once you decide to open up. So, collective, this letting the love in here with this Five of Pentacles, just realize you have more help available to you than maybe currently appears, if that is still something that you're dealing with, okay? So, but the way that you're going to get to this Ace of Cups is by opening up a little bit more, okay? So again, going from that, like, what do you want energy, right, to actually, like, saying hello, right? And I'm not saying whatever. You have to use your own situational awareness and all these things, right? Okay. Change. You're being asked to change a part of yourself that no longer feels like the person you've become or are becoming. Change isn't always easy, but letting go of this outdated part of yourself will allow you to align with your true self. Okay. So as this change happens, allow that to be recognized in a good way. I'll say it that way, right? Because it's like because collective, like, even if we want to change ourselves, we still understand how we're accepted currently, right? And then when we change, it's like, well, they might not accept me anymore, right? So, it creates that little cognitive dissonance, right? Okay. Speak up. What are you not saying that's eating you up inside? You can't keep this in forever. It's time to let it out so you can move on and be happy. So there's Three of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, collective. If you have trouble speaking up or speaking your feelings or maybe your opinions or whatever, maybe write them down. Like, maybe you're the type of person that you don't like speaking up in meetings, but maybe afterwards you're like, oh, that would have been good to say. Well, did you take any notes on it? Maybe, draft an email and send it to the whole group and being like, hey, I kind of forgot about this during the meeting, or, I didn't want to interrupt the presentation, but, here are my additional thoughts if anyone, would like to expound on it, blah, 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 however it is. Let your fingers do the walking, right? What do they say? What's the worst they can do? Say no? It's terrible, right? It's terrible. All right. Surrender. Interesting. You're being asked to let go of your need to control each part of your life and surrender to the universe. Control is an illusion, and it's exhausting to try to hold on to it. Let it go and allow yourself to enjoy the relief that comes from doing so. Okay, so waving the flag here. Okay, and it's like, they're coming in, like, crossing the finish line at the last second. Right. It's kind of it's kind of like that. Okay, and again with this Knight of Wands here. So, it doesn't really matter, how it looks at home plate, but, did you did you cross the plate? Did you touch the plate? Then you're good, right? It's and sometimes it gets ugly, right? Sometimes there's collisions involved. Sometimes somebody drops the ball. You know what I mean? But you react and you keep going, right? Until the play is over, until it's called. Okay, so you might be recognizing that, like, oh, this isn't, like, I thought this was over, but it's not, you know. Or maybe it is, and it's like you're being asked to kind of accept the outcome, right? um you know what I mean? It's like, don't be John McEnroe. I know he's still living and everything, and I used to watch him all the time on television when he was playing. But you know what I mean? It was like that was the example that your parents showed you of, how not to behave, right? Although I can't say that I 100% did that, especially when I was learning golf. Sometimes golf would frustrate me very much so. Anyway, um, not above throwing a golf club. Okay, you're being asked to practice patience right now. It's not easy to do this, but you're strong, and there's a reason why things aren't aligning in the way you want them to in the moment. Have patience, it will eventually work out. Okay. So yeah, I mean, going from the Four of Pentacles to the Emperor, it might take a little time, right? It's not going to happen on that first 2 week paycheck, right? Like, you know, you got to let it build, work up to things. You know what I mean? Can you be doing other things in the meantime? Sure. You know, the people that are too good to go to the laundromat, on the, you guys have heard me talk about that a couple times already, but anyway, the anti-laundry people. Anyway, apparently they didn't know how to sit there and read a book at the laundromat, or listen to some new music, or journal, or I don't know, anything. I mean, you can even exercise in the laundromat. Like, come on, people, get imaginative. Come on now. Anyway, reassess. You're being asked to take stock of your life and let go of anything or anyone that no longer makes you happy. Notice who and what bring you joy and who and what don't. It's time for some life cleanup. Oof, oof. Virgo kind of does like their stuff spick and span. Okay, so yeah, you might be in a sense of emotional fulfillment and things like that, but you might be being asked to pivot so that you can get things accomplished here. Okay. It says here, sometimes when things aren't falling into place after trying and trying, it's time to ask yourself if pivoting in some way would be a good idea so that your life can flow more easily and effortlessly. How could you pivot even just a little bit? Okay. So that could be around daily habits, right? Again, it's summertime now, but you know what I mean, when school gets back into session. You know what I mean? Are you and your kids on the same schedule? For the teachers out there, are you planning on going in early, or are you a steadily, type teacher when you're working in your classroom? All these kind of things, right? Versus like what you're doing now. Okay. And again, for your goals, what are the goals? So it's like, well, if we're not achieving this goal, how can we pivot so that we can achieve it, right? Because it's not an impossible goal. So, day-to-day life, however you call it, okay, can be a distraction, if you will. But that doesn't mean that your life is distractions. Does that make sense? Okay. Because some of these distractions are unavoidable, right? Like, oh, you're driving somewhere and you run into a train. Or, you notice you're low on gas while you're out. So, that adds some time into your, travel. However it is. Okay. So, at this time, again, you know, hold your vision because you have this High Priestess card. And then you also have this Emperor, Nine of Pentacles, and Virgo. And it's like, I feel like collective, in a lot of sense, you are so close to making certain things happen. Okay. And the fact that you got the Sun card here just means that it's like, it's time to double down on that. And you could be like, oh man, I've been going so hard. Yeah, I bet. Double it up. Right? You know? Because it's like, it ain't going to get done by sheer, you know, will alone, right? There needs to be, you know, actions, and, you know, by the will of desire, let's just say, right? um you know, there needs to be practical things that happen with that as well. Okay? You know, don't let executive dysfunction take over your life. Anyway, also get out there and see the moon. It's pretty cool. And yeah. I think that's all I got for you guys. So thank you for those that have liked the video already. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video. But you sure can be, right? We won't tell. I think the dog's ready for me to be. She's like, okay, when's my midnight snack happening? Since you're going to be done with this reading. Yeah, yeah. I need to give you your medicine too, don't I? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So until next time, you guys, please do manifest wisely. Bye-bye.